I'm Eric Erickson, and this is a citizen journalism exercise. Santa Cruz for Bernie held a meeting with Jimmy Panetta last Saturday, and I'd like to give a little report. We had several representatives come to the meeting from around the district. We had Watsonville, Santa Cruz, and Monterey council members, and representatives from various interest groups. We only got 45 minutes with Jimmy, so we addressed what we could: healthcare, environment, immigration, labor, Democratic Party reform, and Israel-Palestine. I'll briefly go through each of these issues and then give my impression of Jimmy. So I'll start with Medicare for All. The CNA, along with several other groups, have endorsed Medicare for All, and a bill has been introduced to the state legislature. If this bill passes, all Californians will have health insurance, just like the rest of the industrialized world. As you know, because of private insurance, the medical device industry, and Big Pharma, the Affordable Care Act is not that affordable. We asked Jimmy if he would sign on in support of SB 562, the statewide Medicare for All or single-payer healthcare bill. He basically said Republicans are trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and we have to focus on protecting what we won with Obama. We respectfully countered with, the ACA sucks. It's well-intentioned, but as long as you have these companies making billions of dollars off of us, Obamacare is going to be too damn expensive. We're okay with repealing the ACA as long as it's replaced with Medicare for All. He supports this, but we'll have to take a look at the bill first. Come on, Jimmy. Next is climate change. I managed to get Sean on camera with Jimmy about where Jimmy stands on fracking. It's an interesting interaction because Sean met with Jimmy last summer and Jimmy's stance has changed since then. Jimmy claimed to be ignorant about the details of the pipelines, like he didn't know what was going on at Keystone XL or Standing Rock. Give me a break. It seemed like him asking questions was more of a tactic to buy time and not to have to answer these tough questions. Let's see some of that conversation.
Pretty overwhelming in how many people oppose fracking.
Completely. And as I said, as I said then, I think the issue, what I remember, I said, look, I'm definitely against fracking on the Central Coast. I've always been like that. And you said, well, wait a second, what about other areas? And my response was, well, I think localities should have that decision. But I feel that you're right. And like I said, part of my learning curve was based on our conversation that we had that day. And I definitely, if there came a bill where I had to vote one way or another dealing with fracking, not just on the Central Coast, but in other parts of our country, I would be against it.
Great. Right. That's really good to hear. As far as the pipelines, you've seen Trump and the current administration's position and the Republicans as a whole. Where do you stand on the pipelines that they're now pushing through DAPL and Keystone XL?
Talk to me about that, because it hasn't come up at all in Congress. I have not received one call about that, as far as I know, in regards to the pipelines themselves.
Yeah. Say what? We discussed this issue with Jimmy for several minutes, and he said that, of course, we need to pivot towards renewable energy, but nothing specific and no commitments. Next is immigration and sanctuary. We asked if Jimmy would write letters in support of sanctuary declarations, both to those jurisdictions which have passed sanctuary and those which have not. He basically took the conservative states' rights stance, saying it's up to each jurisdiction to decide how they treat immigration, basically absolving himself of responsibility and allowing people like Sheriff Bernal of Monterey County to have an ICE office in the county jail. His voice carries weight, and he should be using it to get places like Salinas City Council to declare sanctuary, which they voted against just earlier this week. A lot of talk, not a lot of action. Next is Israel-Palestine. Of the 37 or so votes since the new Congress has been in session, Jimmy has voted along party lines all but twice. The big one here was when he voted with Republicans in denouncing the U.S.'s abstention from the UN Security Council vote that condemned Israeli settlements on Palestinian land. There's international consensus that this is a violation of human rights, and progressive Jews around the world are opposed to the settlements. Jimmy's explanation was that he thought the UN was the wrong avenue to impose negotiations, He said it was the U.S.'s job to facilitate peace talks between the two states, and that it was really just a procedural issue. Sorry, but I call bullshit. Jimmy's dad is a hawk, and so is he. We're gonna have to watch him on this. When Trump drags us into war, he's gonna have to be held accountable. I'm not about to have my representative vote to send us to war for President Bannon. On to the next one. Labor rights. Right to work. Sounded like he was on board with us and agreed that right to work or dismantle unions does not benefit workers and is really a disgusting phrase to begin with. So that was good. Democratic Party reform. Jimmy is a superdelegate and a voting member for the Democratic National Party chair and the California State Party chair. The party chairs have the power to eliminate superdelegates, which is what we're fighting for, and they appoint people to the different committees. The party chair holds a lot of power, and electing progressives as the party chair would potentially save us from the gigantic shitstorm that Debbie Wasserman Schultz got us into last year. So he asked a lot of questions about this topic. Who are the front runners? Why do we support one over the other? We spent a lot of time explaining things that, as a voting member, he should know. And he didn't really give a firm answer, claiming he didn't have enough information yet. He asked for us to follow up with info on the candidates and reasons for supporting, which of course we will do. So all in all, my impression of Jimmy was politician. I feel like he did a great job of appeasing us without taking a hard stance on anything. We got him to say that he opposes fracking anywhere, which I imagine we're going to have to hold him accountable to at some point. He wouldn't take a stance on sanctuary, Medicare for all, Democratic Party reform, and seems to be in opposition with us on Israel-Palestine. So far, he's been a box checker, voting along party lines, but not being an advocate, let alone a leader. In these Trumpian times, going with the flow isn't going to be enough. We need a staunch supporter who will stand up, raise their voice, and cause a ruckus. One thing that I will give Jimmy credit for is his change in stance on fracking. Through his conversation with people like Sean and the results of Measure Z, Jimmy has shown that he responds to public pressure, but it's going to be up to us to keep him accountable. I hope this has been informative, and thank you for watching.